God, dog, man, what is happening? I've been knocking on the door since about 5 till, trying to see what's going on. Yeah, it kept pushing me back out. I'm like, this brother gonna think I ain't on time. I'm like knocking on the virtual door, like little brother
I
in.
know how
What's
the
going on?
artist life is. At times, you want to make sure the crowd is here before you show up. I know that.
Fast to be late?
Yeah.
No, 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 no. I was outside, man, trying to get in.
Hey man, how you doing, big boy?
I'm blessed, man. I'm hanging in there, man. About yourself, brother?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well, man. Enjoying this ride we
Good.
on, man. I just grabbed my surfboard, my spiritual surfboard, man. I'm just riding.
I can dig it.
I'm just-
You're in the right place for surfing, for sure.
and matter of fact, after we finish this afternoon, I'm going for my drive along the coast and find a spot along the beach, just chill. That's what
Nice.
that's what I'm doing this
Sounds
afternoon.
good.
Some positive vibes,
Sounds
man.
real good.
But I appreciate you
Absolutely.
coming in and spending time with me on my podcast. The way this works, man, is that
For sure.
I'm gonna intro you real quick, intro the show.
Okay.
You'll have a copy of this video, so whatever you want to do, I'll send you a copy in the next few days. I uploaded on my
Okay.
Apple. My podcast is on Apple, Spotify, Google, Castbox, and Anchor. And we are in 6 countries.
Okay.
We're in 6 countries now. So, this
Nice.
is going to
Check
help
you out.
expand you out. We have listeners in Germany too. I know you have a presence in Germany. So,
Absolutely. Cool. What's up to my people over there?
yeah, man.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna go ahead and get this started, man. And it's just good to see you, man. It's
Okay.
good to see you, man.
I know. Same here, man. It's always good. Always
All
good.
right, man. Well, thank you all for watching, for listening to RDC Speak Life Sessions. My name is Rodney. I am the host and creator of the show. Make sure you subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Google, Castbox, Anchor. Rate the podcast. Rate it. Give me some likes. Likes help the podcast grow.
Mhm.
Give the podcast likely to be
Mhm.
available on my YouTube page, Rodney Damon Collins TV. Alvin Frazier, he will have a copy of the video. It'll be available on all his platforms, which you will find out as we discuss his career and just who he is. So without further ado, I want to welcome my special guest. He is an incredible R&B, soul singer, writer. He sings gospel. He sings a multitude. He plays a multitude of instruments. He's an actor. He's traveled in a play called Soulmate, put on by Philly Wheaton, which was done in 2018, correct? Where you traveled to several different cities.
Yeah, 16, fall of 16 into the spring of 17.
Fall of 16 to
Mhm.
spring of 17 by
Yeah.
Laugh, Cry, Think, LCT Productions. So we
Yeah.
we give a shout out to my man Philly Wheaton for his production company and the wonderful play
Absolutely. What's up, my
Soulmate
brother?
that I actually had a chance to play in too
Yes.
at one point, but I
Yeah,
didn't get
you
a chance
sure
to act
did.
with my
You
man.
sure did.
I had a chance to do a real
Right.
footage with him, and we did a short. And this is my man. He
Mhm.
is an incredibly gifted person. I am just so glad to know him and call him a friend and brother. Would you all please get your fist bumps in the air, give a loud welcome for my man, Alvin Frazier. Yeah, you hear that crowd, the audience, man, the crowd's going crazy. So, man, you said, so how's your day going, man? How's the day going up in Cleveland?
It's cool, man. It's a hot one, man. How Cleveland is. When we get to the summertime, we kind of go neck and neck with like LA weather-wise, So it's been hot the last week or so. So we probably like around like 89, 90 today. So it's hot today.
And the beautiful thing about out here is that we don't really have humidity. So
Yeah, see, I can do without the humidity. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah, that's the good thing about out there.
that 90 is kind of just dry 90. It's just dry. You're not sweating. But I miss
Right.
those
Here
Cleveland
you
summers,
go.
man. I miss the Cleveland summers, man. Not the winters, but I miss the summers.
Yeah. I feel you. Definitely, I can see why you don't miss the winters. I ask myself every year when I'm on the East Coast, like, why am I out on the East Coast shoveling snow and flying around? Like, why do I do this to myself? Yeah, I ask myself that every
And your boy Mike Stovall is there too, man. He just said it's blazing in Cleveland too. He's there and he wanted to.
Oh, no doubt. I see Mike and Pat and Eric, Troy. I see a few people from the hometown I see up in here. What's up to everybody else out there that I don't know?
Well, they'll be in, man. We got some people from England who are checking in, and it's just cool, man. My man Ronnie out in Virginia just checked in. Man, I just want to get started, man, with talking about, your passion for the arts, and like, when did you develop that, man? Because you are incredibly gifted.
Man, I appreciate that. Shoot, man, we're talking about as a child. I can remember as far back as about 2 years old, like my earliest memories.
Yeah.
I can remember like as early as two really being into music. My father was a singer, and he was the leader of a singing group back in the 1970s. So they would come by the house and had the rehearsals there, in the living room, stand in a circle and lock the harmony in.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of just there, in the way, I guess. But I'm between my father's legs, looking up, I used to love to stand in the middle of the circle and look up and just, kind of hear and watch them as they would lock the parts in, man. And they would be dressed sharp, even for rehearsal. Cats back then, it was a different time. They'd be dressed sharp for rehearsal, colognes just beaming and everything, man, and the harmonies. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing. So I think I started to get bit by the bug back then.
So that was a heavy influence that came from Pops, man. That's pretty powerful, man. And let me just also mention how cool you are, because when you started coming in, my AC actually got higher up in here. And I'm like, I got I'm real cold right now. Man. I was like, the cold is blowing through. I was like, Alvin Frazier's coming through. For y'all who don't know Alvin, he's one of the coolest brothers I know. That dude is super cool. Always cool vibes. So after you developed this love and this passion for like just watching what your pops did, can you tell me, like, how did that progress? Like, when you were in school, like writing love letters to girls and putting it in songs and trying to, do all that stuff like that. What were you doing?
So, I guess you started to mimic those who you are greatly influenced by. And so eventually I started kind of, realizing I could sing a little bit. My parents knew I could sing a little bit. I had a good sense of tone. And started kind of showing an interest in instruments. So my mom bought me like, first was like a toy guitar, and then toy organ. And I started kind of hearing ideas. Nothing that was ready for the radio, obviously, but just then I can remember hearing like musical ideas in my head, as primitive as they were. I'm like, man, 3, but I'm hearing ideas. I can still remember some of the first ideas I came up with. Going into school, still kind of like emulating my dad, I had like about 3 or 4 different little singing groups, man, in elementary school.
Elementary?
At one time. Yeah, I had some groups, man. I had a group called the Fraziers. None of us was the Fraziers up to me, but it was like me and 2 other guys who we called the Fraziers. Few different groups, man, through elementary school, going into junior high school. I kind of made like a switch. Girls wise, when you ask that question, I was shy. So I really wasn't the kind of guy that was like, going up to girls and singing to them, I mean, back then you just picked with the girl you like, but I wasn't using the vocal side as a weapon.
As a weapon.
Weapon of choice, yeah. So by the time I got to junior high school, I made a switch, man. Actually, a lot of people don't know that I went into hip hop for a number of years.
What?
Yeah, from like 89 until about 96, I was heavy on the hip hop side. Like, you had interviewed me back then, you couldn't have told me I wasn't going to make it in the business, probably an MC or something like that. That's how committed I was to it.
Whoa.
Yeah, man. DJing and all that stuff like that, working with groups. I was in a few groups. I think, and part of the reason what brought about that change, it was a 2-parter. I was hanging out with some friends, and they was like, we just formed a group. I'm like, yeah, me, let's be a singing group. I'm like, no, man, I can't sing, man. We should be a rap group. And I'm looking like, I don't think this is gonna last long. So I was like a DJ at first, because I really didn't have an interest in rap on that tip yet.
Yeah.
So I was like, but I was the guy who had all the records and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because I collected my dad's and my mom's records. So I would be the one to put together the beats. Then eventually over time, I began to kind of like, expand in my writing. Because I was always doing a little bit of writing stories about stuff when I was in elementary school. then I started into songwriting. So that time in hip hop made me a better writer, a better performer.
Yes.
And I think what began to make me draw to it in terms of its attraction was the country kind of is going through what we're going through now and been going through even before that.
Yes.
But you know how that time, man, during that particular era, you know, we were getting a lot of music, a lot of artists, man, that were like educating us, man. So, you know, we started to become woke back then, you know what I mean? And that was something that really bit me. It kind of went from me kind of writing raps about girls and, you know, all of the frivolous stuff. And nothing's wrong with girls and parties, but I started to kind of see more of an importance to write about kind of what was going on in the world, you know. And so my lyrics kind of started to take a turn and become a little bit more reflective of the time. And so that was a good period for me because I learned and grew a lot as a person and as an artist. And then switching from that, it was like I got saved in New Year's Eve in '95, and it was I kind of like stopped rapping shortly after that. Not because of, you know, getting saved. It was just like I got to a point where I just reached the end of the road with that, man. People who were trying to say something in that industry, in that particular genre, we were getting shut down, man. So it was just, you know, kind of a battle I was tired of fighting.
Yeah.
You know, trying to break through. We didn't have. They were trying to silence us at that time because they was making room for the other stuff to come through that's kind of more prevalent now.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so when I got in church, I started getting exposed to like the Fred Hammonds and the Commission and all them. You know? And I was like, yo, you know what I mean?
That's
like,
right.
You can actually have music on this side that still, you know, kind of keeps me connected to what I came up with the R&B feel of it, but the message of, you know, of edifying God. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, you can put that combination together, because I'm like, okay, then maybe I got a space to start doing music on this side, you know, because I wasn't really, you know, I didn't know much about James Cleveland other than I knew he was a legend.
Yes.
I knew who they were, but that really wasn't I didn't have an appreciation for it yet that early in my walk for that style, old school gospel. So the contemporary gospel was where God was able to meet me and draw me in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that, man.
And I sang in high school too.
I love that because I was laughing when you said that you were shy in school, because I know people who knew you in school, so I know you were shy. but usually the shy brother is the one that try to play shy in the girl's life. So, but we go.
I'm not saying it didn't work to my advantage, but however,
yeah, we gonna table that for when you and I just hanging out. When you come back out to LA, we'll table that. And we'll laugh about that on the sidebar. But I love the fact that you talked about your transformation that happened in '95 when you gave your life to God, to Jesus. And somebody said, "Well, high school did you go to?" See, they tracking with you.
So I the first half I went to Cleveland Heights High School.
Heights High.
Second half, right, no doubt. And the second half I went to East High School. I graduated from East.
They're East Side. Oh.
Yeah, it was kind of like that too. Yeah, it was day and night. Yeah, that's a whole nother story right there in itself. But it was all good. Yeah,
it's all good. So let's fast forward a little bit. Like, when did you cut your first album? When did you release that? Like, because after you gave your life to Christ, you started making some changes, and like, who were influencing you as an artist? So did that push you forward? Was that one of the things that played a role in you creating your first project, your first one that you started putting out?
I would say yeah, but the interesting thing about that first project, man, like, I've always been the kind of guy who kind of likes to walk to the beat of his own drum. You know, if everybody's kind of doing one thing, I'm kind of like, I think I'm gonna go this way. You know what I mean?
That's why we vibe so much, because I'm like that too.
Point. Yeah. So, you know, and it wasn't to prove a point or show how, you know, bad I was. It was just like, that's just how I am. You know, just, you know, about being an individual. And so when I was working on the first album, well, let me back up. When I was writing the first gospel songs in '96, they were just great contemporary gospel songs. I had a couple of groups too at that time, a couple of gospel groups, and we toured around the circuit locally and stuff and regionally.
Yeah.
And I was cool with that. And then I started to run out of steam there. Not so much for the passion of reaching people, but it was like, man, you know, every week it was like, you know, going to church after church. And I just started to feel something in my heart weighing really heavy. It was like, man, you know, these people that are coming, they already know him. You know what I mean? They already know God. They know the Lord. They're already saved. Not to say that they didn't, you know, deserve to be quote unquote ministered to and or entertained. But it was like, man, but what about the people who were like me? Because that's the part I didn't share. Before I got saved, I was very reluctant to become a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like around 90, like I talked about that period where I began to have an awakening and started to write about stuff that was going on in the world. At that time, I was having a spiritual awakening. You know, I had gone through a period, you know, my father passed like in 88. So like a few years after he passed, I was a little lost. And during that time, I was just kind of into some things that wasn't reflective of my upbringing.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's real.
And you know what I'm saying? That's keeping it 100. Yeah. And I found myself saying, man, I don't feel like I'm living up to my full potential. Like there's more to me than what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like I didn't come up like this. You know what I mean? As that began to kind of, that light began to come on, and I started to change kind of what I was writing about. And not that I was just becoming real preachy, but I did become very pro-Black at that time.
Okay.
And I was leaning toward the Nation of Islam.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like to me, and that was like, you know, if I'm looking at something I need to be a part of as a young Black man in America, being around, you know, what I felt like brothers that was standing strong, you know what I mean? Active in the community at that time. For what I had known, the church had not been the most positive view. And that led me to it, or kind of contaminated my viewpoint, you know what I'm saying, when it came to church people as being very hypocritical, very judgmental. I just didn't necessarily see the love of God per se in some of the people that I had come across in the past.
Okay.
And the irony of it was, I was dating a young lady at the time whose father was a pastor.
Okay.
And I wasn't saved, you know what I'm saying? So you know how, you know, you're dating my daughter and you're not saved, you know how that could be a thing.
Be a little hard.
Yeah, I was a heathen, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you know, I was respectful, you know what I mean? My mom and my, you know, pops raised me, you know what I'm saying, to have some sense and have manners. And so they took me in and they loved me and they didn't treat me any different that I wasn't saved. Of course, it was like, you know, there was the little seeds of, you know, you should come to a service, you should whatever, but it was never beaten over my head, you know, and they loved me and treated me with the respect and love they would have had of a son or, you know, something like that. And that stayed with me. So as I begin to go through this transformation, I'm saying Nation of Islam, I'm reading the Quran, it's making sense to me, brother. And God is saying to me, read the Bible. I'm like, yo, where's this voice coming from? Like, yeah, we had a Bible at the house. We had a King James, you know what I mean? But I tried to read that in the past. It didn't make sense. Like, divot, davit, you know what, man, I tried. This ain't for me. And, you know, and I went to Catholic school the whole time. But it was just like, God was really starting to speak to me. And I'm trying to tell the story as fast as I can for the sake of time, but I ended up getting the call.
Hey, you good, man. Whatever time you use. It's your time.
Yeah. I begin to get, you know, God was beginning to speak to me on a daily basis about reading the Bible. And I was really reluctant, like, yo, man, I'm like, man, that just ain't really, I'm not into that. I don't want to, you know, I didn't see the church as something that was going to be reflective of where I wanted to go. God had another plan. So finally, man, you know, when you resist God for so long, and he has a plan for you, he has a use for you, he's going to do what I call like shake up your tree. And I'm a very strong-willed person, you know, and God knows that because he designed me. I'm a very strong-willed person. So when my mind's kind of set on something, especially back then, it was like tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And the more and more he told me to read the Bible, the more and more I'm blowing it off. Like, you know, like, yeah, whatever. You know, after a while, I'm responding to it, saying, talking out loud, like, yeah, okay, yeah, well, I read the Bible. You know, Bible. I'm trying to live my best life right now. And literally, man, he just started kind of shaking things up, man. Everything that I had placed um, any real value in, he began to remove, you know, like relationship, you know what I'm saying? You know, at the time, very, you know, my girl, that was ending, you know, over some odd circumstances, you know, that was like, it didn't make any sense at the time. Um, my car that I had blew up,
Yeah.
and that kept me from getting to the job that I had. So I had got fired from that job, you know what I mean? So now I'm like, you know, no girl, no job. And then like the last thing that happened, we were at the end of that year. This is all in 1995. We're at the end of that year. We're like December. My sister, I was sister 3 years younger than I am. She gets shot at school at Eastside. And I'm like, man, I remember thinking like, what is going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't see it as God doing this to me. If I did, it really wasn't looking good for me want to, you know, go to church like, this is what you're going to do to me. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, with my sister being shot, and miraculously, you know, she survived, is alive and well and everything, man. But it was just the whole point, like, yo, this is my sister.
Yeah.
I was in a very dark place for a few weeks after that. I wasn't myself. I wasn't thinking like myself. My actions wasn't reflective of what people knew of me. And I think I was kind of heading somewhere that was going to change the trajectory of where my life would be, like, say, right now. Right. And God stopped me before I hit that brick wall, because I was speeding straight ahead, basically. And got to a point where I was broken. I was at the bottom. And I'm like, yo, I don't got nowhere else to go but up. Yep. You know what I'm saying? It's either up or out. And, you know, God was, you know, there, like, you know, still there, still kind of gently prodding me. And I ended up going to the church of the young lady I dated. We weren't together at this time anymore. We were still good friends, but the church was near my home. I lived at the time. Yeah. And I went into a service, sat in the back in the dark. Like, they would have Wednesday Bible study, and it was like, they were just like in the front quarter of the church. Mm-hmm. And they would keep the rest of the lights off. You know, got to save money. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like I'm in the back corner, like the far back corner in the dark. You know, I knew he couldn't see well because he wore glasses. So I'm like, he ain't gonna be able to see me. I'm just off in the cut like this. Yeah. He goes through the whole teaching that evening, and he says, Alvin, how's your sister? Whoa. Now I'm like, how in the world did he see me? I know I came in and sat and chilled in the dark where you couldn't see me. When he said that, I knew that was God who had showed me to him. I went home, man, and bawled for hours. And I knew that, you know, I had to do something different. I came back onto the New Year to watch night service a few days later. Yeah. And the rest is history. I got saved that night. And that started that journey.
Wow. Man, I love that story, man. It's something that, one, I love you being transparent, because people need to see this, especially in this time. There's a lot of people hurting. There's a lot of people trying to look for questions. You know, we have a lot of idle time right now. And if you have a lot of idle time and you don't have anything to really focus on, man, your mind can really wander into some dangerous territory. Absolutely. So that's why I love your story, man, because people need to know that, man, no matter what our circumstances are, man, you know, there is a God who definitely cares for us, man. And I unapologetically say that because I've seen God do things in my life that only God can do, that only God can connect. Yeah. So I was like, I don't care what nobody say. I was like, I don't argue with nobody, but I'm like, hey, man, I done seen it and witnessed it, so I know. Yeah. And so I was like, people can question all they want to. I know this part of my life is sound. Everything else may be crazy. But this part is sound. This part is sound.
Well, the thing you learn, man, that I learned, Rod, is like this. It's like, even in conversations I've had with people of other faiths, even with conversations I've had with people who are atheists, And I always, like yourself, I'm like, I can't argue the point when they, what about XYZ, XYZ, XYZ? I'm like, at the end of the day, man, this is my truth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is my truth. And I think that I would feel differently. I would feel uncertain and shaken about it if I hadn't had so many spiritual encounters.
Yeah.
If my faith was just a religious thing, then that's different.
Right.
Because I'm only religion is just going through the rituals.
Right.
You know what I mean? You go to church, you ask God to forgive you, you make mistakes, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You pray before you eat, whatever the little things that, that a lot of people who came up in church who struggle with the fact that they were raised religious as opposed to spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
For me, because even though I had some influence of church growing up, I went a few times. I went to Catholic school, so I was aware of who God was. I was aware of who Jesus was and everything like that.
Right.
But I think for me, it was more of a religious experience. You know what I mean? Even though I can look at encounters where God has spoken to me directly and walked me out of troublesome situations that could have went way left before I knew it was Him.
Word.
Just that something told me leave now. Something told me don't go there. Something told me don't steal this.
Yeah.
Don't touch that. Leave it alone. You know what I mean?
Right.
And by me not doing that, somebody who I was with and we both there to steal something, they do and they get caught and get arrested. And I didn't. I'm free.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I went with the same purpose they did to go and get into something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or whatever it was, or even if it was like if we was, the different stuff I was into, we was looking to get into some trouble and we waiting around for it.
Yeah.
And God was like, okay, it's time for you to go. I don't know, or I didn't know it was God. Something said, and I'm like, all right, y'all, man, I'll catch up with y'all later. I've been waiting for a couple hours, ain't nothing jump off, so it ain't like I didn't put in my time. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get it.
It's like I'm out.
And then right after it, all hell breaks loose. Right after I leave.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's when you recognize that protection.
From that.
That's when you recognize that's protection.
Right. It was like, man, He was really watching out for me because I should have been right there in the midst of that because I was there poised for that at that time. You know what I mean? I was there for that. So, I just began like, man, God has been speaking to me for quite some time. But getting back to the point I was making about the difference between being spiritual and being religious, because there were so many things where I found myself indifferent about, and God allowed me to have what I call like road to Damascus moments, where I was very sure, like, nah, man, I don't know about that. Or I'm skeptical about that. Even after I got into faith, I was still skeptical about certain things. And God revealed Himself to me. You know what I mean? He revealed Himself. I'm gonna share this one quick story, man. I'm gonna let you get back. I didn't mean to get into all this.
Bruh, just do it. Quit saying what you didn't mean to do and just flow with it. Just flow with it. Just go.
I was struck by a car when I was like 8 years old, 7, 8 years old, coming home from school one day. It was pretty bad. And, they had told my mom that my left leg, that was the car. I got struck with like a 1972 Nova. So, those cars are chrome.
And we got a lot in common.
I mean?
Don't let me forget, we got a lot in common with regard to that. I'll share with you after you finish. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm crossing the street coming home. I was kind of a latchkey kid. My mom worked. My mom and dad are separated. But this particular day, he had picked my mom and my sister up, bring them home. I was walking home from school by myself in the rain, across the street, and this Nova speeds down my street and clips me and catapults me over 2 yards over. So by the time I land down, my mouth's distorted because my teeth have been knocked out in the front. I'm on my back, but my toe on my left foot my foot is facing downward. So it was totally twisted in reverse on that leg. So to get to the away from all that drama around that, in the hospital, they tell my mother that, bone, ligaments torn, it's pretty bad. they like best thing they think they the best suggestion advice they had was to amputate the lower half of my leg.
Wow.
My mother was like, "No, nah, you're not gonna amputate my baby's leg." Blah blah blah. They like, you know, Miss Frazier, listen. If we don't, we can't guarantee how well it's gonna heal, and if it does, he'll probably have to wear a metal brace on his leg the rest of his life. He'll never run. He'll never know what it's like to jump. All that stuff. He'll never do sport. He'll just be good with walking decent. So my mother was so that was better than me being an amputee. So I go through physical therapy, the whole nine. I developed arthritis as a result. So you can imagine how arthritis is on us as adults.
Yes.
For a kid, and how painful that is to endure arthritis and waking up at night and, you know, crying. My mother coming in and rubbing my leg with salve to make it stop hurting and all that every night or whenever it was happening.
Mama got to take care of her baby.
So we fast. Yeah, she did, you know. So fast forward through the years of dealing with cast, dealing with wearing a brace for a while, metal brace for a while. I was able to strengthen this leg stronger than the leg that wasn't injured, you know, through therapy. And even though I was still dealing with arthritis from time to time, you know, overall I had pretty much most of the use of my leg back.
Right.
So to fast forward and show how God was faithful with that, I mean, the same person they said would never do this. I mean, I ran long distance, I did hurdles, I did long jump, I was a designated hitter, you know, for baseball, because I was a fast runner. Something they said I wouldn't really be able to do or jump. You know, I'm doing hurdles. They said I wouldn't be able to do it. One particular day, now we fast forward years, I hadn't had any arthritis pain. I'm an adult now.
Yeah.
I'm at work one day, walking down the hall, man. Out of nowhere, I feel something in my leg, just like somebody just grabbed it and twisted it again. It felt like the day it was broken by that chrome bumper when I got hit in 1982, all over again. Now, it's 1999 now. It hurt so bad, I'm walking down the hall nowhere. I fell up against the wall and I just started to cry. The tears, I couldn't even hold them back because the pain was so severe. Yeah. I'm like, wow, So I'm scared to move. I'm scared to walk. I remember that night, we had tickets to go to see, I think this guy name was Bernard Johnson. I ain't never heard the guy again, but his name was Bernard Johnson. And he was a minstrel. That's the first time I really heard that term. Anyway, he played sax and he was doing a show at the State Theater downtown. I worked downtown. Yeah. And so after work, I explained to my girlfriend at the time that what was going on. And I'm like, I just wanted to get home. She had picked me up. And she was like, well, I really still want to go see this. Are you crazy? I'm like, I could barely walk. Like, you know, we both were in the music and stuff. And in the minute, I'm like, but this makes no sense. I'm telling you, I can barely stand up, so I can barely walk. She's going on and on. Like, I really want to go. She really pushed the issue. In my mind, I'm thinking like, yeah, we ain't going to be together long. I'm thinking, like, we about to break up because this is crazy. So we go, man, to this event. It's packed. He's, you know, playing different songs, kind of like jazzy versions of hymns and stuff like that. And in between, he's like ministering. You know what I'm saying? He's you know, just admonishing right. and edifying. And I'm in the back row of the State Theater because I wanted to be right by the exit so I can just get the heck out of there when this is over with, because I don't want to go in the first place. I'm feeling terrible. So he starts to play. All the lights are down. Place is full. He says, you know, lift your hands if you want something from the Lord, blah, blah, blah. You know, so everybody's worshiping. You know, I'm there. I got an attitude. My attitude is bad. So I'm just looking like, and normally I'm a worshiper, but not this day I was not. I was in a bad mood. My leg hurted. I'm like, I'm about to figure out how I'm going to break up with her because this ain't going to work out. So, you know, everything is going on, man. I'm looking at everybody worship. Of course, the worshiper in me is like, man, lift your hands. But I'm like, my feelings was battling me. Like, I don't feel like worship. Like, my leg is killing me. I could barely, you know, I couldn't even stand on it. I had to like levitate it above the ground because any weight on it hurt. Yeah. So I'm like, man, so I hear voices, close your eyes, lift your hands. So I'm just like, man,
sorry, what
you know, I do it. Yeah, you know, like, wait, right. but then, you know, I started to really petition God, like, man, you know, like this, I don't know where this came from. I haven't experienced this pain since I was a kid with this leg. What, you know, I could literally not walk. I was walking like Fred Sanford. That's how my leg, it hurt. So I was really, at that point, my heart was open. I'm praying, 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 praying. Now keep in mind, last time I had my eyes open, he was at the foot of the stage. The place is full. He's going to different people praying for him with his sax, you know, blah, blah, blah. Lights are down. I am in the back. You've been in the State Theater. You know how big that place is. If you've been there to see a show or a concert, you know what I mean? Yep. I had not had my eyes closed more than like 5 minutes, if that. And I feel somebody grab my hand. I open my eyes. It's him. Mm. He squeezes my hand. He says some words to me, and then he blows his long note on his sax. And he walks away and goes back down the aisle. Mm. And literally when he let go of my hand, and I was praising God, not so much of anything within my body, but I think more so like, how could he have seen me in this room, this theater of thousands of people? How could he have come all the way down the aisle in the dark and find me in the back row in a full theater in 5 minutes? It wasn't like I was 30 minutes of praying, so he has a way to work around. I mean, he had to come straight down the aisle to me directly in the dark. So that was another example how God had shed his light upon me, that he said, there's a guy in the back, there's a young man in the back I need you to go to directly. Right. I'm praising God more so like, man, I can't believe he saw me. You know what I mean? He saw
you out of everything.
At that point in time, and as out of everybody there in the dark, and as I'm doing that, my thought goes to now my knee though, because that's that pain.
Yes.
And when it goes there, I'm like, I don't really feel it at that point in time. So someone says, put your foot down. Because like I said, it was hovering above the floor like this. I was kind of like, you know, holding on to your chair to balance it. It says, put your foot on the ground and stand on your leg. And I'm thinking like, it's going to be excruciating because it's been. I put the leg down on the ground and stood up straight. And I didn't feel it anymore. Wow. And I said, what? I kind of like, you know how you squat down a little bit, like this can't be real. Yeah. I lift my knee up, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh snap, like it was gone. Man. So I have been skeptical of God's ability to heal. You know, you hear about it in the Bible, you know, and you've seen so much stuff on TV, you're like, oh my God, okay. I don't know if God still do the heal, you know what I mean? This is to me being real. I just wasn't really sure about it. And man, lo and behold, man, God allowed me to witness the fact that he still was healing, and he did it through a medium I will understand, through another musician. That further confirmed the power of what I did as a musician too, because I was playing in church at that time now, and further confirmed like this is how powerful of a gift you have. And because I know your unbelief, I'm aware of it. But through my grace, I'm going to show you on this road to Damascus, because you a person like, yeah, healing, I don't really know about that, man. But yeah, God is good otherwise. And he's like, I'm going to put you in a position where you're going to need me to heal you. And I'm going to do it through a medium you understand, through a musician, you know, as a minstrel, through music. And it changed. I was never the same after that. Not just from a physical standpoint. So I haven't had any more issues with my knee from that day in June of 1999. Wow. To now, which has been over 20 years, but just how I looked at what I do as a musician, as a person who does and creates and plays music, it changed my whole outlook on that going forward.
Man, the way you just told that story is so powerful, because as long as I've known you, every time I've seen you minister through music and play, whether you're even in a club playing, there's a humility in your music. There's a brokenness in your music. There's a healing in your music. I don't know if you realize that, but that's what's one of some of the powerful things that I feel when I listen to your songs. I was actually playing one of your songs before you came in the room, but so everybody heard it. Okay. But just So that's confirmation. I wanted to give you even more confirmation that what I've seen through my eyes and felt when you play is powerful, man. It really is. And
I appreciate it.
man, it's sincere, man. It's a gift that the world needs to have, especially during this time. They need this. They need this gift of healing, and the only way to bring real healing is to let your gift come out. Make it strong, man. Make it strong.
Yeah.
Only thing I was going to share with you real quick, because this ain't about me, but when I was 12 years old,
that's all good, man.
I was hit by a drunk driver and ran over. The car ran over me.
Wow.
Okay. I got up, and then I collapsed.
Wow.
Only thing I had was a broken leg.
Here.
I'm talking, the doctors was like, they couldn't believe that it didn't crush my chest when it ran over me. Because the guy was drunk. He hit me on my bike, and he kept flying down the road nonstop. Man. So I'm just telling you that there is God's protection, God's provision, and he's there with you, man. That's why I love the gift you have. That's why I wanted you here, because I think people need to hear that right now. And, you know,
I appreciate it.
I know I gave you a platform if you wanted to actually share, you know, through song, you know, but that's on you, you know. I don't see no guitar in your hand or nothing, so I guess we're not going to get that. We're not going to get that treat. I was hoping we could get, but, you know, so we'll fast forward because we only got about 10 minutes with us. And Stephanie just said, Stephanie's watching the interview right now. She's just like, wow. She's like always with us. Heather just said, she said play. Said play. Yeah, man. I told you. Remember, I gave you a little notice. I was like, be willing. You know, people might want to hear a little something, but you know, look. Oh,
right.
Come on, Alvin. Come on, Alvin. And you don't have to if you haven't warmed up. I know you got to warm up the throat. You know, you gotta get ready. So,
got the me.
Yeah, if you're not ready for that, this is what you know. You before we close out, you'll be able to make sure people know how to, you know, get connected with your music. Now, I want to talk briefly about your acting career, because you became an actor, which. Did that come as your music career started growing, or did you already have a desire for acting even when you were younger? What happened?
A desire for acting, but I hadn't done anything. I mean, like a lot of people, kids from our era, you know, TV, watch a lot of television, man. But even as I would watch television, I'd be like, man, you're thinking about, I could kind of really, you know, pick out good acting performances and stuff and nuances and stuff like that. And I'd be like, man, you know, okay, I might want to do that one day, you know? Yes. And so then I started acting when I was like in my early 20s. And then when I got ready to record the first album and put that out, I was like, well, man, you know, you can't really build two platforms at the same time like that.
Right.
I had a plan. So I said, you know, well, put this first album out, see how it does. If it doesn't tank, and doesn't go anywhere, you know, then you can kind of, if it does well, then I said, then revisit acting. And that way you'll have a fan base from your music that'll probably be interested in checking you out as an actor, you know? So it was a plan. And so like 8 years went by before I would revisit acting professionally at that time. But the music career definitely kind of, I think, helped to open the door.
That's what got you involved in
to make people pay attention.
Now, if you were, I got a couple fun questions for you too. You know, we gotta get something in there on you, man. And since you being an artist, man, if we were to get in your car right now, would we find, you know, what would we find, you know, playing, you know, on your radio, or you know what, you know, what would we? You like, huh? What would we find? You still don't have no 8-track, do you, or cassette, do you?
No 8-track, no 8-track. Yeah. I'm definitely in the new millennium. So, man, a mixture of stuff. I've been listening to a lot of funk lately. A lot of funk music lately.
I love the funk too.
The last couple of weeks.
I love funk too.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's influenced all the rap music anyway. You know.
Right.
Also.
Yeah, a lot of funk lately.
Do you prefer vinyl or CD?
Vinyl all
Vinyl
day.
all day.
All day.
Okay.
All
Why
day.
is that? Why
That's
is
where I
that?
came
Tell me.
from.
Why is that?
Man, one, I'm old school like that, man, but it's nothing like the smell of vinyl. It's nothing like reading the liner notes. Like Saturday afternoons for me used to be, up until a few years ago, man. I used to spread out albums on the floor and put some records on and just read album credits. Even if I had read them before, you just discover something different, something new. It was just a pastime of mine, man. I spend a lot of time in record stores when I'm out of town in different places. I can spend hours going through records, man, digging and collecting stuff. You know what I mean? And yeah, so definitely vinyl all day. In fact, this new album I'm working on, we're looking to put this one on vinyl. So this will be my first
Really?
actual record on vinyl that'll be available for a limited time. Yeah.
And you know what? You're not the first person to talk about vinyl the way you're talking about it. Is that something that's actually making like a little comeback in the industry or something? What's happening?
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, things come around
Yeah.
again all the time. Just like they do with fashion.
Uh-huh.
So vinyl has been kind of on the upswing probably for the last 10 years, man. There's a lot of pressing plants that are starting to press records and release a lot of old albums, you know what I'm saying, on vinyl now.
Yeah.
So it's just record players are a lot more available now. You got a lot of record players where you can convert stuff to MP3. It's crazy. Yeah, you can find a record player, man, at Walmart,
Really?
at big lots. Yeah, you can find record players everywhere like you could back in the day. So it's definitely on the
I
come.
might have to go grab me one. I might have to grab me one. Stove said he loved it the same way. He loved it, man. He loved vinyl, man. So
No doubt. All
right, man. So we got like pretty much 2 or 3 minutes before they put the clock on me, because that's how the show runs. I get an hour for my show. I definitely gotta have you back, because I believe there's a lot more in the story to tell, and even encourage people with. How do you want people to keep in touch with you? For one, that's one of my closing questions.
Okay, the main hub for me is at my website, which is alvinfraziermusic.com. Of course, you can follow me here on Instagram at I am Alvin Frazier. You can follow me on Facebook at I am Alvin Frazier. Twitter, I am Alvin Frazier.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, please check out my clothing line. I do have a clothing line called the Alvin Frazier Collection.
Yes.
You can find that on the store tab on my website. You can find it. It's an Instagram profile for the Alvin Frazier Collection. There's a Facebook page for the Alvin Frazier Collection. So check it out. Some real cool designs on there. Some real cool items I think you'll dig. Original designs that I came up with the ideas with myself. So yeah, it's real cool. Check it out.
Well, man, I'm a poet, man, and a lot of people don't know it. So
yes,
yes. You and I might have to collab on a song where I do a little open mic, and you provide everything else. But I think you and I have worked very well together, even when we did, the film. With Myron, man, I think we work well together. So Stephanie, we need to do something. So you and I got to sidebar on that, because I think that's going to be something that's going to be pretty cool. Have you ever made any songs where you mixed it in with some rap, like an R&B art? Like as an R&B artist, have you added like rap to your music?
Yeah, I've done a couple of tunes like that. On my first album, it was a tune called "Recognize" I did with a friend of mine named Tony Elliott. He did a verse on that. There's a song on the new album where I kind of come out of retirement and kick a verse on one of my tunes. So on this new album. So yeah, every now and again, he got to do something.
Well, man, we down to about 40 seconds. I'm gonna close this out. But
okay.
With this, I want you to remember you are never in retirement. As long as you have breath in your body, you're not retired, man. I'm a firm believer that I'm going until I collapse. And my mantra is that I'm leaving this world on E. I'm leaving this world completely empty of every God-given gift I have. I'm not making the cemetery rich by the dreams and desires and plans that God has given me to do. So when I leave, man, my gas tank will be past E. You know how when your gas tank get past E,
I feel that.
And you,
Yeah, you empty the reserve tank out.
yeah,
Brother.
yeah, it's gonna be completely empty. So if you can give me 20
Yeah.
seconds on something that you just live by every day, that keeps you going, that drives you, that we can feed off of.
What I always tell myself when I feel myself overwhelmed with something, I say this: the first step is to begin.
Okay. First step is begin.
First step is to begin.
Man,
Yeah, start.
that's the most powerful thing though, because people spend way too much time thinking about it instead of just doing.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, when you make that first step into it, you're like, oh, I'm doing it, and you got to keep going.
it's crazy. I feel like IG is my
Scared
producer right now. They like waving like the clock. The clock you ready to cut me off. So
I'll come back next time, and I'll sing next time I come back.
well, you know what? That means you got to come back within the next month. So we go have to find a different day. I ain't gonna let you go that long. So I'm gonna close this out real quick because get ready to shut us off. Remember 3 things: to love God, love yourself, love people. Life will be good. You have just been listening to RDC Speak Life Sessions. Love you. Peace.